Welcome to Book Slaves.
Hi, I'm Ana Valenzuela, and today we are with Liana Smith-Bautista, the Will Read for Feels blogger and host, podcast host. Liana, can you tell us about Will Read for Feels, the blog and a podcast, right?
Yes, well, it's managed by 3 bloggers because we wanted to make sure that we had daily content. So the only day we don't post is Sundays, and sometimes we even do post on Sundays. So and then we have a monthly podcast that's just called Still Will Read for Feels, mostly about books and anything related to books, characters. We've done 4 episodes so far. We did one episode on book boyfriends, another episode for Women's Month on what we wanted to see in heroines, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So and then for the blog, we regularly review books. I think we average around 4 to 5 reviews a week.
Wow.
And then we do lists and also sometimes interviews, guest posts, and some other things.
So, right now, because I think you get free books because of the blogs, right? That's one of the perks.
Well, yeah, advanced reader copies are a thing, especially like if we're joining a book tour or there's an author who requests a book review from us. They'll send us a free copy of the book in exchange for an honest review. If it's a book tour, for example, usually we'll just, or even if it's a request with an upcoming release date, what we usually just promise is that if it's going to be a negative review, like less than 3 stars, we usually say that we can hold off on the review because for authors, the first few weeks after release are the most important.
Okay.
So that we will hold off on anything less than 3 stars for at least 2 or 3 weeks after the tour or after the release. We offer to them, although not everybody takes it. Some of them are like,
Okay
even
lang.
if it's 2 stars, go. We just want the feedback.
Okay. So, you also edit, right? So, how do you what are your tips for editing?
Okay. Just background. I do a lot of different kinds of editing. So I've done web editing for a couple of 3 websites now. And I also do copy editing for manuscripts and for I've done some copy editing for company websites, that kind of thing. Corporate work. And like the tips that you would give for one type of editing are not the same tips that you would give for another type of editing. For example,
How do you differentiate that?
well, for web editing, the type of web editing I do is mostly kind of like a magazine. So that's both content and copy, meaning you have to be solid about what you're writing about, as well as how you're writing about it. So one of the things I say to people like with web editing or magazine editing is you have to always be conscious of the angles that you're taking. You don't, like, if you're going to interview someone, research them first, and then if you're going to sometimes, for example, with web editing, what I tell people is make the most of your effort. Yung pagpunta mo to interview someone, pagpunta mo to event, make the most of it. Do more than one story. So for example, if you interview a celebrity, you can ask them about their upcoming movie. You can ask them about how it was, what it was like filming it, like that. And then you can also, like, for a second story, you can ask them about their beauty tips. Like, if it was a movie about travel, sometimes, for example, if they traveled for the movie, what were the sites that they saw when they went there or when they shot, what are their favorite, that kind of thing. Just find other ways to make the most of to make
The review of the event.
have a lot of content out of the same little bit of effort. Yeah.
How about books naman? How do you edit that?
For books, well, my history there is actually I worked for a self-publishing company called Ex Libris for some time. It's not called Ex Libris anymore because I think they got bought out by Penguin and now they're Author Solutions. But I started out copy editing professionally there, and we were trained in what's the US standard for style, which is the Chicago Manual.
Yeah.
And then basically the type of editing that we did there was called first instance commenting, meaning the first time we would correct a particular grammar mistake, we would explain why that why that correction was made. And then after that, if the mistake occurs again, silent. But it meant that you had to be very conscious. You had to know exactly what you were correcting and why. So I think that was really good training. So that even now, when not all my clients require that, at least in my head, I still know why I'm making that. Because like I know a lot of editors who are like feeling like they can't explain why they made a correction because of feel lang. It doesn't sound right, you know. Like there are times when you just say needs clarity.
I like that style of editing. For me, yes, right? I know what I did wrong.
Yeah. I mean, like sometimes it's really just sometimes when an editor who's trained that way will say needs clarity, it's just that it's a combination of one or two or more errors or that just makes for an awkward delivery of the sentence.
Yeah.
So it's important to know as an editor what, like, even if you don't tell the writer, you need to know what happened there.
Okay. So what are pet peeves or like the common mistakes that you encounter when you edit?
Oh gosh.
You edit
Well-
mostly romance, right?
Yeah, recently, actually just fiction. I mean, I have edited stuff like memoirs, dissertations even, which are kind of tiring. Because when you do proofreading, it's mostly just grammar and syntax and orthography. Orthography is just anything to do with the formation of words, so like spelling,
Okay.
hyphenation, that kind of thing. All that falls under orthography. But then when you have copy editing, you also do a little fact checking. So sometimes, if you're hired to proofread, you don't have to comment when a character who was killed in chapter 9 is suddenly alive in chapter 12.
Okay.
But if you're copy editing, you have to. Or like sometimes you will talk about like the logistics.
Okay.
I had a sci-fi thing that I was editing, and then in the spaceship, may balcony sila where they could enjoy the breeze of space. And I had to point
How do they
out that
breathe?
there's no oxygen
Yeah.
in space. So that was a thing. Yeah, that's a kind of extreme example. Sometimes with romance, it's stuff like once I had a character who was where the hero was embracing the girl and the girl had rested her head on the chest, but then as they were talking, bigla na lang their lips met. But if her head is still on his chest, they have to move first before they can kiss, because otherwise he would just be kissing her hair or another.
Yeah, it's actually
So stuff
super
like that.
stretchy yung lips niya.
And then, like, I don't know how explicit we can get, but like sex scenes, that's something you kind of have to check if it's physically possible.
Yeah, it's
like height difference counts a lot for sex that's not in bed.
Yeah.
Like for example, stand-up sex is not possible between a very tall person and a very short person. So that's not like stuff like that. Even if you don't correct it yourself, usually you have to leave a comment and say that. By the way, or legalities. If they use song lyrics, that's not really that's copyrighted material, and they might get into problems in terms of intellectual property rights. So you point that out, and then stuff like legalities. If your character is in a car accident with her boyfriend and it's a YA novel, so they're both 16 years old, the boyfriend cannot be the person who gives medical permission for surgery or medical procedure, that kind of thing. So, or like they won't keep, in a hospital, they won't keep the parents out of the room and let the boyfriend stay in. Because may problema sila ng parents niya. Like it's not legally, like because the parents are the legal guardians, it's just not going to happen. So that kind of thing. You do tend to point out the thing about the difference, I guess, like with content editing, like coming up with like I said, with magazine editing, you have to come up with the angles. You're very focused on what you're writing about and what you're editing. And copy editing is that copy editing is very detail oriented. And even like I do copy edit for I have copy edited for magazines also. So it's really just with copy editing, you're taking what's there, and then you're just improving the way the story is told. But you're not actually changing the story. When with content editing, sometimes I think you'll hear in author interviews how they'll say their editor said that this character needs to be developed more, or this character that's content editing, because it's more about changing what story is being told. Like it's actually you're affecting what goes on in the story. So same thing for like magazine editing with your content editing. You can say, okay, stop talking about this thing, and then maybe go back, re-interview that person because we wanted to know about this. That kind of thing.
You also had NaNoWriMo, right?
Yes.
It's part of November, but NaNoWriMo is every November we're in National Novel Writing.
Yeah. The challenge is to write 50,000 words of a single novel in 30 days, which is November 1 to 30.
Been doing that for how many?
Well, I started in 2006, took a break 2007 because that was the year I started copy editing manuscripts, and I felt like I couldn't do that all day and then come home and then write my own. And then like 2008 all the way until last year, and I'll be doing it this year again. Direction every year I've done it.
You're also the facilitator here in the country, right?
Yeah, well they call us municipal liaisons, and basically we're the head cheerleaders, I guess, of the organization for like at least for the Philippine group. And we also organize events like what we call kickoffs, which is the first event where we explain the rules, explain what NaNoWriMo is, welcome the newbies, and then we do write-ins throughout the month where everybody just comes to a coffee shop or something and we write together. And then at the very end we have thank God it's over party where we congratulate the winners, commiserate with the people who didn't win, and say let's do this again next year, guys. So yeah, and it's kind of like a pre-Christmas party.
Yeah. November, December.
Yeah.
So have you published anything from the NaNoWriMo?
Honestly, no, but that's mostly because I didn't get into it with the purpose to publish. I think maybe now, because recently I've been participating in workshops and I've been talking more about doing about the whole publishing process. I think now maybe I'd be more open to publishing, but before I was really just writing for fun, and then because most of my work was like doing articles, that kind of thing, I just wanted to have something that where I was writing for myself. So there was never really a sense na I should publish this until recently. So I guess what I have on the books is writing new books with a mind to publishing if it comes out right, and then maybe revisiting my old books and then editing those again with the intent to publish, because most of those like are very gratuitous pieces of fiction.
So, how about NaNoWriMo novels or writers? What can you recommend?
For people who want to start NaNoWriMo,
Those books that are finished now. During the NaNoWriMo month.
Well, locally there's Eileen Santos. She writes paranormal romance, and then there's my previous co-ML, Tina. Sorry, has a book which I will not mention because she has it on her pseudonym. She published it as under a pseudonym.
Just like you?
Well, I do have a short novella, not a full novel, published under a pseudonym, but it's a little steamy. So because in professional circumstances and familial circumstances, it might be awkward. I will also not mention what my pseudonym is. I believe Dean Alfar published a book that he won a Palanca for, and he wrote it. He at least like usually with NaNoWriMo, it's usually the first draft. There's a lot of work that goes into it after NaNoWriMo, but because the point is really, the point of the whole organization is really just stop dreaming about writing your novel. Stop talking about the novel you're going to write someday. Just write it. The reason why 50,000 words is because, 50,000 words, like, if you've gotten to that number, at least masasayangan ka if you give up.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, you've written 50,000 words, you've given up 30 days of your life. When you could have been hanging out with friends, you were in your room, huddled up in a corner with your laptop. And then, just like the idea that you can do this pala. Like that's what a lot of our participants get now. They never thought that they could write that much. Especially if before all they had written were like 5-page stories or essays, that kind of thing.
And finally, what's the book that you're currently
Reading right now? Well, tomorrow we're actually the Will Read for Feels girls are actually hosting an event for the launch of Mina Villas's 3 of her books that are being published under Spark Books. So I'm revisiting the ones that I've read and reading for the first time the one that I haven't. So that's what I'm reading. I just finished a new novel by Jennifer Estep. It's a YA urban fantasy novel. It'll be out next week.
Okay.
And then I'm reviewing it. That'll be out today.
Okay.
So that was a 5-star read. So
what's the title of the book?
For Mina, it's Never Just Friends, The Harder We Fall, and Welcome to Envy Park. And then for Jennifer Estep, it's I actually don't know if I'm pronouncing her last name right. It's Cold Burn of Magic.
Okay. So those are books to watch out.
Yes.
Welcome to Book Slaves.